When I first got my license, everything was, really pretty cool.
It was my first car. It was something I get to do finally. I get to be responsible for myself.
Something I'd been looking forward to for probably 16 years, I guess. Or since I was old enough to know, that I was going to get to drive.
In the car, when you're talking to your friends and you're laughing and you're singing a song and stuff, you're not paying attention to what's exactly going on or how fast you're going in the car.
Teenagers don't have rules, you have rules at home. You have rules in your parents' car. You don't have rules in a teenager's car. Not at all. We were playing around, of course. I mostly was on the road, but you know how kids are. Of course, you look in the rearview mirror, seeing what everyone's doing in the back seat.
They were just average kids. Greg had driven 2 years and never had a ticket and never had an accident. They drove a little fast, but what kids don't.
I got in the car to go to school because I got picked up from Ashley every day. Me and Natasha argued over who was going to sit in the front seat, and she won the argument, of course.
It was my friend's 21st birthday, and I was, just having a few with him.
It started out just to be a normal morning. They usually took off for work about the time I went outside on the farm and started chores and things, and they were just joking around in the morning, and it was a cold winter morning, and roads were good, really didn't think anything about it.
She reached over with her left hand to grab something out of the center console, and when she reached over, it kind of just swerved the car a little, and we were going about 65 miles per hour, and the speed limit was actually 45.
I was driving, and it was, I think, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were heading home. We were doing 90 plus mile an hour around a curve, and when we flew straight off that curve and into an embankment, and it was pretty deep. Hit head on, and that was where it stopped. It pushed the whole front end of the truck back on us.
Police had said it looked like, for some reason, Greg had gotten a little off the edge of the road. When he pulled back on, he overcorrected and spun around sideways, and then went through the ditch, and the driver's door hit the power pole. And they estimated he was going 79 when he lost control and probably hit the pole around 50 miles an hour. So
we had to drive by it in order to get to the hospital. We just knew that our whole reality had changed, and as bad as the accident looked, we didn't know if we had any sons left.
We knew that Greg couldn't have survived, and we just prayed that Steve was able to come out.
There were 4 people in the back seat, 1 in the passenger. It was just us 6 going out for a good time. It was actually 3 couples. Next thing I know, I do see a hand pulling the steering wheel. And, the first time I could correct it. The second time he pulled again, and the car went into a slide where I couldn't get out of the slide. It just went sideways and right into a tree. And the next thing I knew, I wake up, looking around, not knowing what's going on. There's dust everywhere. And I see Robbie next to me, and 2 guys run into the car, asking if we're okay. And I'm just like, what just happened? When it hit this tree, it wrapped around it, and as the back end went around it, 3 of my friends went out the back window. There was Jenny, and then Jesse, and then Tasha in the far back, and there was Lester trapped inside the car still. And that's when it hit me like, whoa, they're not just unconscious, they're dead.
The car actually spun for about 200 feet, and then it hit the light pole.
911 emergency, John.
Yeah, there was just an accident on Sahara right before, is that Sloan? I think it's before Sloan. It's really really bad. It's really bad.
Are you okay?
I wasn't in the accident. I just saw it. This is all my friends. And then
Your friends were involved in this accident?
all of them were. Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing?
The car is in half. It's split in half. The other half is down the street. And my friends are all screaming.
I remember hitting the pole and then like opened my eyes and there was just a bunch of metal everywhere, really. When the car hit the pole, it actually split in half. The front of it went about 50 feet down the road, I believe. I couldn't see anything from my waist down, and then I looked up in the front seat, and the hardest part about it was that my two best friends, the girls I went everywhere with every day, the ones that I just hung out with and shared my life with, they were both just bleeding. And the driver, she had hit her head on the steering wheel, I believe. And there was blood and brains coming out of her head. And Natasha, the passenger, she died on impact. When I heard them say there's been a fatality, and then I saw them pull a sheet over her body in the road, I didn't want to see I didn't want to know that. After an hour and a half, they grabbed under my arms and they started to pull. And I started screaming because I felt this excruciating pain. And when they put me on the stretcher, when they finally got me out of the car, I heard them say, "We gotta find her foot." I lost consciousness, my heart stopped. I died for about 3 minutes on the helicopter.
I woke up in the hospital and didn't know why I was there or anything. I guess because of my head injuries. And, they told me that I was driving and I was going too fast around a corner and that my blood alcohol level was 0.07. At that time, 0.08 was the legal limit. So I wasn't actually considered, a DWI, but I was definitely intoxicated. My friend lost his life in the accident. I was actually in the hospital through my friend's funeral. I didn't even get, wasn't allowed to go, I actually have broke like every bone in my face. I've got a pin holding my cheek in there. I don't have a real cheekbone. I've got plates and screws all down through my jaws and screws in my arm, holding my arm together. It was broke.
We stayed down at the hospital for a week or 10 days because Steve was in such critical condition and moment to moment. And then we were also dealing with the fact that we had a funeral to plan. And it was an incredibly impossible situation. Really hard.
When we left the rehab hospital, they basically told us Steve will probably never walk again, never talk, never be able to eat. He was on a feeding tube, and the best prognosis wasn't very good.
I had to go to court and I had to testify. The first time I testified against him was to prove that I was innocent, to prove that he was guilty of pulling the steering wheel. He got jail time, juvenile, which I think it was up to 2 years for each account, which was 4 accounts, 4 kids that died. For me, as a result of the accident, I got 2 years of my license suspended, 250 hours of community service, and probation. And that was just for a speeding ticket.
I remember waking up in the hospital, and my mom was right there. And I had already gotten, I think they said 9 surgeries. I had already gotten my leg amputated. They found they reattached my left foot. I was crushed from the waist down, every bone My spine, my pelvis, my hips, my legs were all crushed into pieces, and I was never supposed to walk again. I mean, I shouldn't even be here. It's a miracle that I lived through that.
I was charged with involuntary manslaughter in the first degree, and I got charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault, which are all 3 Class C felonies. When I started going to court over it all, I was actually facing 21 years in penitentiary.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I need to come in for the weekend.
Just a minute, I'll get the jailer.
I got locked up in the county jail for about 6 months, and then when it finally all came together so we knew what was going to happen, I ended up doing 2 years worth of weekends in the county jail.
Put yours right in there. We'll book you in just a minute.
You got 4 walls there. It's not something to look forward to. You know, a lot of people are like, oh man, it's the weekend, you know. I dread mine.
It's hard, but I think Steve's stubbornness and endurance, and he had his mindset that he was going to recover, and he did.
I remember not being able to talk. That was frustrating. I should have said, slow down.
Especially when I go to grave sites. You know, I get down on my knees and I say that I love them. I miss them very much. Life is a lot different without them. I have not talked to any of their parents since the day of the accident. They don't want anything to do with me. I know they think that I'm responsible. They think me and my boyfriend were both responsible. And they figure, you know, I was the driver of the car, so I should be able to control everything that happened in the car. And they just believe it was all my fault.
I had a lot of fun, and I knew every day when I woke up that I'd be with my best friends and we'd be having a good time. And it was something to look forward to every day. Never thought it'd be taken away from me like that.
Everything was normal, fine. We was partying, having fun, and then that one night, it happened. Just knowing that my best friend lost his life because of me, I don't even have a word to tell you how bad that feels. It's hard to live with yourself.
Greg thought he was a good driver. He was very confident, and he was, for his age, a good driver. But all it takes is one mistake.
It was just a normal teenage day, you know? To me, that's all it was. And I believe people do see me as maybe a bad person or, you know, not smart for, you know, having 4 people in my back seat. But, you know, a 16-year-old is a 16-year-old.
I loved life. I mean, I still do, but I loved my best friends more than anything in the world. I mean, they were my life. And it's so hard to explain to other teenagers right now like this. Like, they'll watch this and they'll be like, you know, they'll feel bad, you know. I don't want them to feel bad for me. I just want them to know that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, you know, how much money you have or how much fun you have in high school. It can happen to you, and you could lose the most important people in your life.
There are so many stories like these. In fact, you probably know someone who's been through something like this. Auto accidents are the leading cause of teenage deaths, but there are some simple things you can do to cut down on your chances of being involved in crashes like these. I know you've heard it before, but wear your seatbelt and slow down. Most of these crashes could have been avoided if the drivers were doing the speed limit. Also, as Sarah pointed out, keep control of your car. Don't have too many passengers, and don't let them goof around while you're trying to drive. And stay focused on the road. Don't try and do other things while you're driving. Whether you're getting something out of your console, playing with the radio, or trying to make a call, it just takes a second to lose focus. Try and give yourself plenty of time to react if something happens in front of you. Follow the 2-second rule. When the car ahead of you passes a stripe on the road or something that's not moving, you should be able to count to 2 before you pass the same object. Finally, don't put yourself in a bad situation. You know you're not supposed to drink and drive, but bad weather, congested traffic, and lack of sleep can cause problems too. In fact, most teen crashes happen at night. Just try and avoid these situations if you can. You already know you're supposed to do most of these things, but as you've seen, all it takes is one mistake. Take care and be safe out there.